So sometimes,
Oh, how old is she again? 19?
yeah. Okay, so we
Okay,
started recording, so we might as
yeah,
well
I'm
let
gonna
people
yeah.
let them in. Yeah, we'll get started. Everybody. Okay.
Hi,
Here's Charlene.
Charlene.
How are you today?
I'm good. How about you?
Good, good.
Yeah. I just had Jessica. My camera's got a stupid spot. So,
Oh,
anyways, yeah, I just finished up with their side hustle there, Jessica, the one you sent me. So,
Awesome.
yeah. So, wait for Kaylee to come back and we'll get them to come in. So,
Yeah. So many amazing small businesses. Unbelievable.
yep. Yeah. Yeah. Such different ideas.
So many.
Yeah.
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 it's mind-boggling sometimes. You think you've heard everything, and then a
Yeah.
new one comes, and it's just like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really love to see when people have full-time jobs and then they have a side hustle that's really playing into their creative side. So they have an opportunity to just do something that brings them so much joy.
Yeah.
I love it. We do have a fairly large group that has registered, but if some people will just let them in as they show up. And today we're really lucky to have Jenny from Sage Hill doing this presentation herself. So we don't have an external facilitator, we have an internal facilitator because she knows and works with this topic all the time. So actually we're almost at 1:30. So before we get started, I'm just going to just read a land acknowledgement. As we gather here today, we acknowledge that we're on Treaty 6 territory and homeland of the Métis. We pay our respects to the First Nations and Métis ancestors of this place and reaffirm our relationship with one another. So thanks everybody so much for joining today. My name is Jessica Rorson and I'm working with Sage Hill and the IBDS program, helping find and facilitators for these events, as well as help coordinating the marketing efforts and managing this. Today we have Jenny Glessman with Sage Hill Community Futures talking about ISC and registering a business name and a business, because in her office, this is what she does on a daily basis and gets lots of phone calls about how to do this. And there is a few steps and there are some things to think about, as Jenny will get into, before you actually choose a business name. So with that all being said, welcome everyone. And thanks, Jenny, for being our facilitator.
I'm excited to be here. It's a little strange for me to be on the other side. So
No
bear with
kidding.
me. I don't think I'll be as smooth as everybody else, but business name, ISC, they're not exciting topics, but they're things that we really have to consider when we're starting a business. And today I've got a few things I want to share. We're going to go through a little bit. So I'll just start with kind of to give you a little bit of an outline what we're going to talk about today. So bear with me while I try to share my screen here. This is the one I want. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see that. This is what we're going to talk about today. ISC, are also known as the Information Services Corporation, and it's a website in its own. It's a entity that looks after and houses many different things. And when we get into the actual website, I'll show you a little bit about it, because you can use it for a couple of different things and different purposes. So today we're going to say, why do small business owners need to know about the ISC? We're going to talk about your business name. Do you need to register it? And how to choose a business name. Then there's some homework you need to do beforehand. So I'll go through that. Some of the things that you need, if you have that done before you go in to register your name. If you have this homework done ahead of time, it'll make it way smoother for you. And then I'm going to go into the portal and actually show you some of the steps and some of the things to do. And then we're going to talk about renewing your business name, because once you do it once, you have to do it again. If you're a sole proprietor, it's every 3 years. If you're incorporated, it's every year. So there's some steps to do, and the website and the portal will actually help you, get through that. So to start with, your business name. Why do small business owners, I think I'm going to stop sharing this one, and we're going to back it up a little bit, and we're going to actually look at a little bit of stuff about your business name and a few things that you should think about beforehand. And if anybody has questions, feel free to stop us as we go, or put it in the chat. Jessica's watching that. So your business name is also tied to your business image. And when I say image, it's when people hear your name, what do they think? And I'm going to use an example. My husband and I do 2 jobs. I work here at Sage Hill full time, but my husband and I actually own a lumber yard. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the lumber yard. So when people hear the name Bruno Lumber, what do we want them to think about? So there's some thought goes in as you're starting out. So one of the first things to talk about is your image. And when we're talking about that, when people think of your business, what do they think of? Is there a picture that forms in your mind? And it also has to do with colors that you use. It might be images you use. It could be your logo. And I know if you're just starting, this seems like a lot of things to think about. You don't have to determine your logo and all of those things, but if you think about colors, what pictures you might use to determine that, it's some of those things you want to talk about, and it becomes your brand. And when people are talking to you, or marketing people are talking, they're always talking about brand. So what image do you want to come across? And I always think there's a really good example. And I don't know if I've got a daycare in the room, but I always like this daycare example. Because when you think of a daycare, a place where you're going to drop your children off, what comes in your mind? And these are some of the things that, some images. You want a safe environment, a caring environment. If you're going to leave your children, you want them to have healthy snacks. You want them to have fun. So an image that you would select, it wouldn't be probably a child maybe hanging off a monkey bar, or it might not be them climbing up a mountain, or, you want to pick something that's safe, looks like they're having lots of fun. So those images, also colors. What colors, might be, make you feel calm and at home. So you might not pick fire engine red, you might pick something calmer. So doing a little bit of thought about those types of things, as well as while you're thinking about your business name. So we're going to we're going to email this out to everybody after, because this is a document that we've got done. It's one of our modules that we use here at Sage Hill. And we'll send it out because there's actually some cute little and neat little exercises in here that actually will make you go through choosing the right image. And it asks you some questions and some things that you can fill out as go, which we're not going to go through today, but it's some things that you can pop in and think about to come up with your brand. So moving from the brand, we're going to move on down to, and sorry, this is probably driving everybody's eyes really crazy, is choosing your business name. And I'm going to go to this one. For an example, any daycare center that wishes to be seen as caring would not call itself Dynamite Daycare. I love this example. Or you wouldn't just say a children's daycare center. Instead, you'd want to use words that make people feel at home. Something like Mother Goose Community Daycare Center, Just Like Mom's Daycare Center. Gets people thinking an image, a feeling. And that's what you want when you're picking any kind of your name. You want it to be able to, a feeling, but also say what you're doing. Sometimes you'll see a name and you'll sit back and think, well, I'm not sure what they do. You don't want that to happen. So you want to think about some key things when you're exploring. And this, like I said, I'm not going to go through in great detail today because this is more about the ISC. But I know lots of people jump in and they register their business name because it's easy. It's actually fairly easy to do. But if you haven't done a little bit of that thinking before and that process of what you want it to feel like, or you want people to think about, you can, I wouldn't want you to have to do this twice because it does cost you some money. And if you put a little bit of thought before, it can be very easily done. So like I said, we'll send this out after, and there's some exercises that you can go through in here. We also always suggest to maybe have a couple of alternatives. I know sometimes we have that one name picked out, but when you go onto the ISC and actually do the search, you may find out you can't use it. It may be copyrighted. It may be used in something else. So you may want to have a second choice. So that's why maybe having number, here it says to have 5 picked out. But at least have one with maybe an alternative. One to do is a good thing. And then I always like this little chart. It's just to ask yourself, once you've got your name picked out, to go through this little chart and ask, is the name distinctive? Does it come up with is it people know what you're doing? Does the name match the image that you're trying to create? Does it describe the business you're in? Does it create a picture in your mind? Is it easily recognized? Is it easy remembered? Remember, is it easy to spell? Is it different from the names of your competitors? Will it help you stand apart from your competitor? And have you kept the name short? Sometimes you'll see a name that goes on, it's maybe like 8 words. You want it something simple. Remember, you need to make it into a logo. You need to put it on a business card. You need, so there's just some things to think about. So you can go through for your 5 choices, you score it, and see how it comes out. So it's just a good little thing to start with, start jotting down. I know one place it said Google competition. See what the competitors calling themselves, so that you can get some ideas, different things that you can do that way. So and then the other part before we go into the ISC, and I'm sorry, I'm scrolling again. This is one of the biggest questions that people ask us, and I just want to get to the right place because it actually talks about using your personal name or using a business name. Now, there is some rules around this. You can use your personal name. So I could use Jenny Glessman, but I have to use it as my birth name, Jenny Glessman. I can't add anything to it. You can operate that way. People can, pay you that way. They can write checks to you. They can do whatever. The only thing is, it doesn't tell anybody what I do. If I was Jenny Glessman's Consulting, it doesn't tell you anything that I do. If it's Jenny Glessman's Daycare, I've added something on the end. So using your personal name, if it's a small side hustle, you can do that. And then you wouldn't have to register anything unless there's all the stuff around GST and PST. You can register and get a business number and a GST number with your personal name. But it's always something, does it say anything? Does it tell anybody what you do or what your business is? You have to remember that your business name is also kind of like your trademark. It's who you are. And when you use it, it is actually a marketing tool. It's like us and my husband's business saying Bruno Lumber. When we say Bruno Lumber Supply, people assume we sell lumber. We do sell a whole lot more, but we do sell that. It does form a picture in somebody's mind. So I always like to clear this up first, that you can use your personal name, but on the other hand, it's not really a marketing tool for you, and you need to use every kind of marketing tool that you can. So there's lots in this module that we'll send out. It actually goes through the steps of how to register and things like that. So I'm going to stop sharing this one, and we're going to get to the ISC, what we're all supposed to be, what we're going to actually talk about today and navigate. Does anyone have any questions before I go to the next part?
I don't really have a question. I just have a comment. So in having registered a business before, you submit it and they often will come back and say, oh, it needs a disclaimer because we don't know what this is. So that's how it ends up being a bit of a longer name perhaps. And then that becomes your legal name, and you don't have to typically operate under that full legal name, but just a part of it.
A part of it, yes. And anything on a bank account, anything with your business number would have to be the full account. But when you're marketing, you could chop it up. Like you take ours, we are Bruno Lumber Supply Limited. Most of our Facebook, most of our stuff, it's Bruno Lumber. Sometimes we throw the supply in, but we don't use the whole long handle. So yeah, that's definitely. So this is the Information Services Saskatchewan Corporation registration. So if you've never been on here before, you need to go to need an account and you need to sign up. This account becomes kind of like an information hub. Everything is here. You may get a notification in your personal email that you need to go check here. They won't send something usually to your personal email. Everything is housed in here. It has a message center. It has everything in here. So you want to set up a username, using your first and last name, your email, that you're going to use. If you're first starting out and you don't have a business email yet, that's fine. You can go in and change an email address after. So an email that you're going to be checking, because there'll be some stuff coming there. So then you set up yourself a password. And then there's just some account detail stuff, information in here. Are you doing an individual or are you doing an organization? So if you're going to be doing it for a business, you want to do it as an organization. And you answer the information. And then it just asks, I have an existing account with ISC. So if you're brand new, it would be no, I'm not a robot. And then you go on and it will give you, it actually sends you an email back that you have to authenticate it, and then you'll get your password. I have had a couple of clients in the last while that had an issue when they were trying to get it. It wouldn't send the authenticating email. I've always said there is a 1-800 number in here. We'll make sure we send that out. Phone them. They'll get you that account right away. They're very helpful at the ISC. So I'm going to now log in using my account for our business so that everybody can actually see what this looks like. So once you've got your passwords and you're all set, you'll log in and you'll come into this. This is kind of like the home page. So starting out, the files that you're going to use most is file and the message box. For a sole proprietor and a corporation, those are the main ones. The ISC can be used for other things as well. It houses a pile of information. You can actually search a business. If you wanted to go in here and say you were maybe going to do business with somebody and you're wondering if it's a true business, if it exists, you can go in here and you actually could type in. So if I type in, now let's see if I can actually type. Oops. So you could go on, and this might be if once you get your account, if you want to know if a name is being used, here it comes up. Bruno Lumber Supply tells you your entity number, that we're a Saskatchewan corporation and that we're active. And we are in Saskatchewan. So it actually tells, it can show you that before you even start a name and pay any money to do a search, you could do a small search on here. I always like to use this one as an example, ABC. And then you'll see all the companies that'll come up that have used some sort of ABC in them. And then you'll start seeing inactive, expired, inactive, struck off. So that means they didn't pay their fees. They didn't re-register their name when they were supposed to. So it shows up on here. There's all kinds of information. It shows this one's a sole proprietor. It's active. So there is some information that when you're first starting, if you've got a hunch for a name, punch it in here. It'll tell you if if anybody's ever used it or if it is being used and if it's active. So then that already will help you decide, I can't use that name. I need to move on to something else. So where you need to go if you're going to start this whole process of registering your business name is you go to the File tab and it opens up And it gives you this. And this is where you can do lots of things. You can do a business corporation, you can do a sole proprietor, you can do partnerships in here, nonprofits can register, cooperatives. They all use this site. It houses lots. So if you go to the business name, it comes up because actually registering your business name is a two-part process. First, you have to do a name reservation. And then once you get that reservation done in 3 to 5 business days, then you actually have to register it. So today I can actually show you the first step, but I can't show you the second step because you need to be able to get in. But I thought it would be good if we went in and actually looked at the first step. So this is when you click and you say you want to reserve your business name. So it's going to ask you what type of and most of us are going to be doing a Saskatchewan business name registration. The other ones are like a partnership or a limited partner. And you may be doing some of that. Some of those, when it gets into partnerships and corporations here in the office, lots of times we say you may need some legal advice before you start doing it. The sole proprietor is one that is fairly easy to do and you can do on your own. So I'm going to start with the Saskatchewan business registration, and then it's going to ask me here, what are we doing? So we're going to do a sole proprietorship, and it just keeps asking us questions. So here is enter the company name that we want to check. So here's where, and now I can't stress strong enough to make sure you've checked your spelling. This is how you want it, because how you register it today is how it's going to be. And I have to say this because I'm a horrid speller. So I always want to make sure that you've got everything spelled, spaced, everything done right. So I'm going to use just ABC Company. I'm just going to go ABC Supply and go check the name. And it will do a preliminary check for you. And you'll already see that it comes up that there's already one there. So it won't let me go any further. So I'm not sure what we'll be able to do. I'm just going to use my name so that we can try it. I should have done this before. Let's hope there's nobody else. Similar or not exact name. So I think I should be able to keep going. And now it's going to ask you for the nature of your business. And this is where the list gets quite long. This goes on and on. So to do a little bit of homework before, these are based off NAIC codes. And the NAIC codes is the North American Industry Classification. And if you type into Google, NAIC code, just like here, NAICS code. And if you typed in that you're a clothing business, say, for instance, it'll help you get the codes. But if we go through here, I'm just going to I'll go through a couple of these, but it gets into a lot of detail. Let's pick something let's do a book publisher. So this would be what you would pick. You just hit the plus sign, close, and then it puts it in here. Except I didn't do it right. Let's pick something. Bookkeeping. Supposed to add it there. Oh, now I got two. So we see I've got two entries in here. So we'll get rid of one of them. Continue. So now I've told them what type of business. So when it's asking you that's what it's looking for, telling you that. Additional information. Really, usually there'll be nothing to go in there. Unless you are buying a business that already has a name and they're allowing you to use that name, you may have to upload some documents. That's a whole different ball game. But if it's just a simple, straightforward business, you're just starting a business from scratch and you have a business name, this is that you just put a not applicable and you would go next. And then it just says, click here if you wish to request a rush, which because it gets a lot more money. Here's your $50. And then it's going to kick you to a window where you can, now it's going to let you go through and read. So you can check out sole proprietor. I've put in Jenny's Consulting. And I've, that everything that you've clicked, there's a chance here for you to make sure that it's right. Now, it didn't ask me to put my address and stuff in because this was an existing account. But if you will have put that information in the beginning, and then you declare that you're right and you submit it. And then it's going to go to a pay window and ask you. I'm not going to go any further because I don't want to register this. So we will back out of here and go back to the cancel. Go back, go home, leave. So what happens is this reservation is now done and it's gone in. 3 to 5 business days, it will come back. Now I had a yellow, but if you'd picked a name that wasn't, you'll be pretty sure if you're going to get it or not, it'll be able to go through or not. What will happen is in your messages, in 3 to 5 business days, you will actually get a message and it'll come up in here in your messages, and it will say that your business name has been reserved for you and your reservation is good for 90 days, and there'll be a number in there. You need to print this off. You need that number to be able to do the next step, which is the actual registration of your business. You go back into the file once you've got that reservation number. You go back to business name, and now we click registration. Before I go any further, is there any questions so far? It is a very simple thing. It just sometimes when you look at these forms, it's
No.
like, oh my, what do I do?
No question.
Oh, yes. Go ahead. No questions. Okay. Then once you go into this section, this is where it comes up with your reservation number. You'll put your reservation number in here. And unfortunately, I can't go any further because this system doesn't let you do a practice run. So you put your reservation number in here, go continue, and then the form opens up. And basically, this is where you'll need some of your information. It's going to ask your address. So if it's a storefront, you need to have your business address and a mailing address where your mail will be coming to. Now, it's going to ask you if you want your correspondence by email or if you want your correspondence by mail. Right now, maybe for the postal strike, maybe the mail's not the best thing. We usually try to tell everybody, unless you're very checking your emails all the time, because that is where your reminder is going to come in 3 years. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you want to, and actually, I'm going to stop sharing from here because I don't think at the moment we need to go back in. So we'll just go to this screen. But basically, when you get in there, it's going to ask you questions like your address. It's going to ask you for an email address. It's also going to ask you at this point if you want to register for PST. You don't have to. You can say no at this point, and you can register for the provincial sales tax at a different time. Some people like to do it all at once. So that is going to be one question. So you need to think about that. Do your research if you have to register for the PST. The other thing it's going to ask you about is workers' compensation. And it also is a box that you can say no to at this moment, just knowing that it is something that you're going to have to think about. If you're going to have employees, workers' compensation, you have to get workers' compensation if you're going to have employees. If you're just a mom and pop, just you, if it's just you're the only person, you can get coverage through workers' comp for yourself. So a couple of things to think about. The workers' comp website is excellent to go on to. Check it out. But know that you can say no at this point if you just want to get your business name registered. So those are the kind of questions it's going to ask. It's very straightforward. And then it's going to come to the place where you submit and you pay another $60, I believe, or 70. It's 60 plus 15 for the Gazette, which is the publication. It's a publication where people can go on and see what names have been registered or struck off the registry. So I think it's $75 in total that you will now pay to register your business name. Your business name is now good for 3 years. You will also get your business number at this time. And then from the website where we were in the portal, you can actually print off your certificate that will give you your business name and your business number. And that piece of paper you will need when you're going to open your business bank accounts and things like that. So you'll be able to print that off from the ISC website from your messages. So from there, once you've got that submitted and done, the next thing I like to talk about is it's good for 3 years. And lots of us forget about it. And so if it's making yourself a reminder, you are supposed to get a notice in the mail. You also can set it up that you'll get a notice in the email. But we've had people that you're busy running your business and you miss it. I think you have 30 days from when it would expires. And if you don't re-register it in those 30 days, you would be going through this whole process again. We lots of times will be working with entrepreneurs and business owners, and we'll be going to do financing, and all of a sudden we'll go to run their business name and it's expired. And they completely forgot, innocently, just completely forgot to register their business name or re-register it. And then they have to go through the whole process. So instead of just being I think it's, I have it in my notes, $50 to register. Yeah, $50 to renew your business name for 3 years. But if you miss that 3-year expiry date, you have to do the whole you have to reserve it again and then register it again. So you're looking at $120 or more to redo it. So we always tell everybody to make sure you set yourself some reminders, keep a file with your business name stuff in it so that you don't have that expire. If you're incorporated, and I probably should go back in. I don't know if we have anybody online with us today that is incorporated, but I'm just going to go back into the ISC and exit out of here. And when we go into here, this is actually where you go as a corporation. You have to yearly file your annual return. So after your year end, you'd go into here. Us as Bruno Lumber, we go in, we put our entity in, and there's a form we fill out online. We do that right from here. And that's why when you see my messages, this is all me filing every year as my annual return. So you can do that as a corporate, so that's yearly. And if you're a sole proprietor, it's every 3 years with your business name. There was something else. Any questions on that so far? Okay. While I'm back in here, the only other thing I wanted to mention when I was showing you, I'm just going to show you. I'll do this. I'll just search us because I was talking about the reports that you might. Okay, clear this. I might not be in the right place. I'll just do this 1 sec. Go back to home. Into search. And I'll show you where you can find your reports. You'll see here, there's a little, we can view. And this, get this, see if I can get this to open up. It's taking its time today. This is supposed to open up and it'll show you where you can actually print off your certificate. What I got, something I got stuck. I'm gonna clear. I'm not sure if I'm froze. I'll try one more time. If not, we'll give up. It's thinking. Here we go. I'm not sure. Usually this opens up and it would show your certificate. It would show every time that if all of a sudden you think, oh, I don't know when my business name comes due, I've lost my stuff. If you come on here, here we go, just had to have patience. It actually will come up. And it actually, so here's your report that you can print. In my case, and there is a cost with this. If you want to add this to the cart, this will actually show your profile report. So in the case of us, it would actually show me who the directors are, who the shareholders are in our corporation, that type of stuff. Your status certificate, if you need your business number, that kind of stuff, it's on here. But it also shows you all of the times that you've ever done anything. So it shows on here that I did my corporate return on August 31st. Our year end is July 31st. So then I went in and did that. Shows you the year before, I did it on September the 9th. It shows that I also updated a mailing address, or I did some kind of if you need to change your email address, it all shows on here. So all of a sudden you're 2 years in or 3 and you can't remember when your business name, because those dates slip by, you can actually come back on here and it will show you the last time you did if you're a sole proprietor, it'll show the last time you did you re-registered your business name, things like that. And like in the case of us, we bought our business in 2015. So it shows that where, the articles were amended, we changed the share structure. So you can see all of that stuff. You can, if you've misplaced it, you can print it from here. So it is once you get your account, keep your passwords, because there's lots of information, can save yourself lots of worry and lots of headaches if you just come back to your portal, log in, it shows you where you're at and what you need to do. So that, in a nutshell, is a whirlwind of the ISC. It is fairly simple. It's just the biggest problem I've had people having trouble with lately is getting their user and password set up. Once you've got that, it's free game. And like I said, putting a little bit of thought into what you want your image to be, what you want, and then you can go and pick your name. There are some, there is some guidelines, around, things to use and not to use, but, that's all in this image thing that I can send out. That's what I have today. I'll open it up. If anybody wants any specific questions, I can try to navigate and show you where to go. We're always here at Sage Hill. We're just a phone call away. I do this lots with clients over Zoom. I let them share their screen and they type away. And usually that's why I've never seen the second step. I shouldn't say I've never seen. I have helped with the second step, but usually the first step, once we get that done, everybody gets their reservation number and they'll email me and say, I did it. We're good to go. So with that, any questions? Hopefully I didn't bore everybody.
No, I mean, I think that was great. Thanks, Jenny. Is there anyone on the call that maybe you could just share where you're at? Have you walked through this process already? Are you thinking about starting a business? Maybe
have you been struggling with picking a name, how to do it, or what the steps are?
it didn't complete it. Okay.
And that it's 90 days is the time frame. Once and unfortunately, if the 90 days expire, you have to go through that first step again because it needs that reservation number.
Yes, excuse me.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Ayola. I want to find out if to use my name without attaching any probably consult or associate, just Ayola Oni.
So just using your birth name, your personal name with nothing added to it.
Did I need also registered and paid the same amount as for sole proprietorship registration?
You don't need to if you add nothing to it. So like my name, Jenny Glessman, if I just used my name, I'm perfectly fine to accept checks that way, run my business as a sole proprietor. There's no laws that you can't. The only thing is, as soon as you add anything to it, because somebody might not know what you're doing. That's the only thing. But there's lots of people that do it. Lots of people, they still may add something, or in their little bit of marketing might add something, but legally, as long as you're only using your birth name, you can operate that way.
Does that mean I won't go through this process of registration?
You wouldn't have to. No. The only thing you might is, depending on the type of business you're doing, you may still have to register for a GST number or a PST number.
Through the same platform?
Yes, but you don't, not on this platform. The GST is actually a federal program. So you would have to go to the CRA. You can register over the phone, or there are forms online where you can get to register for the GST. And then PST is like for the province of Saskatchewan. And that's with the Minister of Finance. And they actually have a very good website. If you go to saskatchewan.ca, and the forms are there to register for the PST.
Okay.
But Jenny,
That-
if you use your name, so you don't have to register a name, but you still want to register the business so that you can maybe set up a business bank account.
and that you may need, but you won't get a business number. It would be your social insurance number. At the banks, you'd have to talk with your bank how to do that. Most people don't do it with their own personal name, but as a sole proprietor, you can do it just through your personal name. When you go to do your income tax, it's a separate form on your income tax. Where you run in is if you need, and you can get a GST under your personal name. My husband has one because he's also a farmer. So we have a separate number, and it's just under his name. So you can do that. Some of that stuff, when it comes to, your that is the best also to talk to your accountant.
Right.
Here at Sage Hill, we always strongly suggest, if you're starting into business, to talk with your accountant. They'll be telling you if it's best, to stay under your own name, or if you should be registering a business name. There's all those kinds of things. Sometimes the banks can be sticky on personal bank accounts and business bank accounts. That's why most people do register a business name. It is like $120. That's why lots want to keep even though they're still a sole proprietor, it's still going to show up on your personal income tax, but they still register a business name. Does that help answer your question, sir?
Yeah, I think, but in later, maybe after some years or after some months, you decided to now incorporate consultant or additional to the name. Is this still possible?
Oh, like if you've been running under your name and then you decide to incorporate, is that what your question?
Yes.
You can do that at any time. Yes, but again, we would be suggesting, if you're looking to incorporate, we'd be talking to your accountant, maybe talking to a lawyer, depending on the level, because there's different steps at the incorporating stage. There's different, you need some bylaws in place, you need, a share structure, those types of things. So that's why we always talk about, but lots of times businesses start out as sole proprietors, may run for a year or a year and a half, and decide that for tax purposes or whatever purposes, it's better to incorporate, and it's easily done that way.
All right, no problem. That's
Okay.
a good one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, was there a couple of questions in the chat?
Yes. So this one was just saying that they appreciate the info, but the question is, we aren't sure if we need to register our charity with ISC or not? I know this is more for entrepreneurs, but do you know anything about that? We already do a charity return through CRA. I guess we were wondering what the benefits of registering with ISC are for charities. I thought you had to.
I did too. You've got me on the charity one. I haven't done a lot of work with that, but I know it is an option when you're like on the ISC, there's your nonprofit and there is the charity. And I know one of the organizations that I was involved in was a nonprofit, and we actually had to file a return on the ISC just like we did as being incorporated. So again, that question can probably be answered by, I'm thinking, a lawyer or an accountant would be able to help you, because I know that is one of the options on the ISC, is all around the nonprofit part. Just let me.
Well, there is a charity portion, and I mean, if you're a charity, it's your best to actually register through ISC because then you're official to take donations and then give receipts. If you don't, then you would maybe not look as legit, and then you wouldn't also be able to collect donations and provide receipts.
Yeah. That's very true. Yeah, and I said honestly, in our office, I haven't done a lot of around that about registering them, but I know there is a thing in there all around the nonprofit and that. So a question, they may have somebody right at the ISC that can help you with that, or they'll direct you if you should be talking to the lawyer, or if it's an accountant who you should be talking to. That's where I would definitely start. Great. Like I said, we're always here at our office to try to, help people through too.
They
Just
said,
working on our
yeah.
bylaws. Yes, all those wonderful things. And that's one thing around the corporations and the charities and the nonprofits, it's you're getting your bylaws in place and all of those things about, and that's an important step. And that's one reason why we always suggest we always say in our office, we're not lawyers and we're not accountants. And we always say that they're a small business owner, and our nonprofits, they're probably your number one resource. You can't go into business or into anything without them. I know when my husband and I bought our business, I don't think we would have without our accountant. He gave us some really good advice around purchase price, what we could do, share structures, which the whole corporate world was new to us. So we always say if we couldn't have done it without our accountant. So those are those, when you're going into business, there's a few things that you really need. And one of those, I think, is a good accountant, someone that you trust, and, a lawyer too, someone that you trust and that you've worked with.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah. If you registered as a sole proprietorship now, and you've never started any business for maybe 1 year, 2 years, do you still need to file income tax?
Well, when you file your personal return, you would then be filing a statement of business activity, which would show nothing. It would be showing zero, right? If you have no business activity, so that they would still probably, like, I haven't done a tax return like that, but they would still probably, they would file with, there'd be nothing. There'd be no income and there'd be no expenses. So it really wouldn't be. But that's where it's all, there's a certain number. The other girl in our office can rattle off which one it is, but it's called a business activity statement. And it just becomes part of your regular personal income tax. So if there's no activity, it would show that there was no activity for the year. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think I'll still have to talk to you. I need your husband to put me through that farming you just mentioned.
Yes. And I guess a little bit about, like, there are 13 community futures offices across the province. The region is split into 13 regions, and we all do an area. And so if, for instance, the Sage Hill area, we go from the outskirts of Saskatoon all the way to Quill Lake. We go down to Imperial and we go all the way up to Duck Lake. So we've got a large region. So depending, because I know we have some people on from different parts of the province. So there are other organizations out there. We're happy to help if someone phones our office to get you in the right direction of who you should be talking to. If you happen to be in the cities of Saskatoon or Regina, because the Community Futures is a rural program, there are different organizations that we can direct you to make sure, there's lots of us out there to help businesses to make sure everybody gets started out on the right foot.
Well, I appreciate that because I'm a new immigrant, so
Okay.
and I'm trying to look into going to farming, especially pig farming, but I've not been opportune to meet anybody to direct me.
Okay. And where are you located?
Oh, well, like I said, I just came in. I'm presently in Regina. I don't know anywhere much here, but I just have interest in pig farming.
Okay. Well, no, we can always get you some help, get you in the right direction.
I will appreciate that.
Okay, great. With that, if anybody doesn't have any other questions, I think then we can.
Yeah, I think we're good. Thanks, Jenny. Thank you, everybody, for joining. That's great. And I will email everyone out Jenny's presentation, and hopefully that is helpful. And then if you are looking for other resources, like Jenny said, Community Futures helps people who are operating businesses in rural communities across the country. But for urban, like Regina or Saskatoon, the best bet is likely to call Sask Startup Institute. And so they would be able to put you in the right direction of what to do and who to what your steps would be, as they're quite a bit different in an urban center than in rural, just with different regulations. So that's who I would recommend.
And this is our last session for the 2024 year.
Yeah.
Where we'll be back in January. I think the next one we do is about business plans.
It's about business plans.
So everyone, I hope everyone has a great holiday season, a wonderful December. Remember, we also are all about shopping local.
Yes.
And supporting all those small entrepreneurs. That's what it's all about. So have a great rest of the year, and we'll see everybody back in 2025.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.